Hey everybody, this is Games Plus James, and welcome back to our live stream making a 2D fighting game prototype tutorial. So we're going to continue on from where we left off last week, which was that we had our little guy made. If I press play here on our little game, we can just move him back and forward. He can jump up in the air, he can punch, he can do a knee, he can do another punch, and he can do another little kick thing. So we want to do some more things with this and kind of make it a little bit more interesting to play as we go. So first things first, hello everyone who's joining on the stream here. Good to see you all back again. Want to know how can I make system combos? Yeah, I want to take a look at doing that. We'll see how we get on. We'll need some more animations and stuff like that along the way, but we'll work it all out as we go, and we'll see how it gets on. As we did last week on the previous stream, I haven't prepared for this at all. The whole idea of these streams is to see the process of developing a game, like as you go through it. I think that's an interesting process, and I think it's useful to see how you can go about doing it. And most importantly is the code that you write when you start. It might not be useful for what you actually wanted to do. So I'm going to open up the script that we used last week to control all our punches and stuff. So at the moment, we have, it just tells, each button just tells it to do the little different animation, which is, that's fine, that's grand, that's all well and good. But what we want to do if we're going to do, say, a combo system, so if we wanted to do the player left punches, then right punches, and then left punches, and then that does some kind of strange combo or something like that, then we kind of want to have some more options for our input rather than just setting it directly to the animation that it should be. So what I'd rather do is create a bunch of functions that we're going to use to call whenever our player presses a different button. So at the moment we have a left punch, right knee, right punch, left kick. That's all fine and grand, but I'm going to do oh no, that's the wrong place to put it. We're going to put extra functions, so we want to put them outside of our update loop. So I'm going to do it in a way that is kind of like the old Tekken games, where you had each of the different front buttons controlled a different limb. So you had one button was your left hand, one button was your right hand, one button was your left leg, one button was your right leg. So we'll go with that kind of method of doing it. So we'll just say public void left hand. Now again, I don't actually know what I'm doing with all this. We're just kind of seeing what happens as we go and seeing what can actually work well for us. So we've got left hand, right hand. We'll say public void left foot, and then public void right foot. So for the moment, we're just going to make them be exactly what we already have up here. So we have our animator, that's set trigger for our left punch, that's in fire 1. So we'll leave that in fire 1 and we'll put that there. We're going to make right hand be on fire 2. So although it doesn't matter what we put these here for the moment, I'm going to make a right punch. Obviously it needs to go into right hand there. So I'm going to change these around in a minute, but for now we're just going to go what we have. So right knee, obviously that is the right foot because it's the right side action basically. And then we have left kick, so that'll be left foot. Boom. Okay. Text a small zoom in. Oh, yeah, you're quite right. Thank you, Mass Marauder. That should be okay. That was about what I had it at last time. How is everybody out there anyway? How is the world of game development going for you all? So I'm going to go for our fire. So for fire 1, we want that to be left punch. So we're just going to call the left hand function like that. For fire 2, we want that to be right punch. So that'll be our right hand like that. Then fire tree, we'll make that be right foot, say, like that. And then finally we'll make the jump one. Oh no, that's jump, sorry. That shouldn't be the... Oh no, this is the right one, sorry. That's when you press the X button, isn't it? So that'll be our left foot. So that'll be left foot. Next thing I want to do is move it so that when the person's in the air and they press a button, we want them to do the jump kick whenever he's in the air or whatever. So I don't want to have that be a special little variable up here. So I'm actually just going to... Well, for now, I'll just copy this little bit out. And what we're going to do is basically whenever we do a punch or anything like that, we're going to add it in down here. So we're going to say, what we'll actually do, which would make a little bit more sense, is do another function. That'll be public void kick in air. So we'll put that in here. And we'll just add the little check in here. So if not grounded, or not is grounded, so if we're basically, if we're not on the ground, then do the jump kick animation. And then what we want to do is obviously call this function, so we're just going to call it whenever we whenever we do our little bits of action, like this. So just add the kick in air to each one. No, this doesn't make sense, does it? This is actually an incredibly awkward way to go about doing this. Okay, I'm not going to worry about doing this for now. We'll leave that as it was, like so. Or would it? No, it would make sense, because I suppose the animation manager already knows that if you're in the air, you can't do any of this stuff. Okay, so we're just setting the trigger. Yeah, okay, we'll leave this in like this. So I'm just going to copy this in like that, so it knows, just basically run that check. Cool, Lyoko, hello. It's been a while since I've seen some of James' live streams. Yes, well, I'm only just starting to get back into it. This is our second week of doing this. We want to make this a regular thing, so that every week we're doing more interesting development ideas, basically, is the plan. I'm making a game for my coursework in A-level comp-sci course. Would you say your RPG game would be good enough standard for this? I honestly don't know, Joe. You have to establish that yourself. Be aware before you started the RPG course, or the RPG tutorials aren't completely finished yet. So be aware of that before you jump in, and then get annoyed when you get to the end of it and aren't sure what to do. I do think it gives you, what is there gives you a good basic for creating an RPG game, though. You have the good base. You have the basics of a lot of stuff that you need for an RPG. There's not much left to do in that tutorial. Just what is left to do in it is a big thing, which is primarily the inventory system, which I feel maybe that would be better served as being its own tutorial to do the inventory system. But we'll see as time goes on. For now, we'll continue with this. Okay, so we have that little check for the air, so now I can get rid of this from happening here. Although, writing good code, you shouldn't just delete things when you don't want to use it. You should just comment it out and make sure everything still works okay before you start making big changes like a madman. Okay, so we've got that. We've got a basic little change that I wanted to make to how the controls work. So let's just make sure that everything still goes okay. So we can run around, we can jump up in the air, we can do all our punches, punch, 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 punch. I will say, it feels like it's not quick enough to go into the action, so I almost feel like going into our animator here. We'll just do it and test it out. We'll go into our animator, and basically from our idle position, whenever we go to any of these things, at the moment transition duration is 0.1, so I'm just going to try changing that. So if I turn the fixed duration off, that should be. I just want to have a look at our animations on our player for a second. So we got our left kick. Yep, that just goes straight to it. Have you done any combo system stuff? Not yet. No, we're going to get into that a little bit later. I figure it probably makes a little bit of sense to start making the damage stuff work before we jump into making combos. I usually follow Jim's story. Last time I remember watching you was when you did that Ludum Dare stream. Yes, indeed. I will be streaming, well, as long as everything goes according to plan, I'll be streaming again for Ludum Dare later this month. I think it's the weekend of the 24th or something like that, 22nd to 24th, I think. But yeah, I'll be doing that. I'll put up a proper video about it, or announcement video or whatever on the channel in the next week or so, but that should be fun. I enjoyed doing Ludum Dare last time around. Let's put our transition duration to 0. See how that works for our which one's kick? There we go. Kick, kick. So it's super fast, maybe a little bit too fast. Let's say 0.05. He comes out of it a little bit better there. If I put it at 0, I feel like it yeah, he's not really staying in that position for very long. It's like a Street Fighter / Mortal Kombat game. Yeah, that's the basic idea of what we're doing here. That kind of idea of how it should work. Let's try making some duration differences. So right punch. Let's get a right punch. Yeah, a right punch feels... It's quick enough to get to it, but I feel like coming out of it, it's a little bit too slow. So where's... So I'm going to change the transition back to 0.05 on that. That feels better, I think. So maybe if I just make him 0.05 on everything. How does it look? I have to remember which button is... Whoa, that's too fast. If I make the exit time longer, will that make a difference? The animation system can be a bit weird sometimes. Kick, 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 kick. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it doesn't help that this kick kind of looks a bit lame. Let's actually... That's one thing we should do. Let's tidy up that kick. I know this is only a prototype. It's not meant to look amazing or anything like that, but I really don't like how that kick looks. It just looks a bit silly. So, let's change some things about it. So, we need to drop various bits and things down so we're able to make some changes. Okay, switch to scene view. His right arm, instead of going up in the air like that, I'm going to make it like a little bit like this. It looks a little bit less silly if we do it like this, I think. And what I'll do is make the leg a bit straighter, like that, and his foot. Yeah, it looks a little bit better like that, I feel. I might actually just move the whole body down a tiny bit and then bend his leg. So his right leg, we're going to bend that back and this bit forward. Actually, maybe I shouldn't have moved them now that I think about it. Oh, no, that was the wrong thing. Ugh, animation system. It can be annoying sometimes. Any tips on how to pass the Unity certificate? I plan to take my exam next year. I know there's some good courses for doing it. I haven't really sat through it myself. doing Jane's 2D platformer now. Ran into some bugs. Had to improvise thanks to Jane's. Good. I'm glad you're able to improvise. That's the most important thing. That's the most fun thing about game development is being able to improvise. And when you come across a problem, being able to go, hey, this is fun. I can actually work out how to do this. I'm noticing that this animation has gotten a little bit weird. I don't know if anyone else can tell how weird it is. Something happened to his legs. I'm just gonna switch to a different one. Okay, so jump kick looks okay. Left kick is having some problems, guys. I mean, he's doing a very low left kick now. Look at him go. His arms are spinning around a little bit weirdly, to be fair. Yeah, the sprites, yes, they're from Ludum Dare that I did last year when I made a game called Shapeshifters. Which I probably, again, I said it last week, but I probably should have linked to it. It would probably be helpful. So our left kick has got completely out of hand, so I'm going to delete it all. Delete. Okay, so we're just going to start with a new left kick because that one just looked terrible. So let's just go ahead and what am I doing? Let's move his right arm back like this, and like this, and then his left arm up like this, and like this, and his right leg, I'm gonna pull it forward, then bend the knee back, and then we'll just move his body up a tiny bit. Boop, like that. There we go. Slightly different left kick. Might hopefully look a little bit better. Let's test it out. Kick, kick. It looks slightly better. Again, we're not trying to make the most fancy looking kicks and stuff in the world. We're just kind of trying to test this out. But that's why we kind of fiddle around with it a bit. So, okay, we've got various different parts of our body. We've got on our body here, we've got different areas in our body that we have assigned as trigger boxes at the moment. So if we go to the main player, we see this is the main box making our player stay at the right height that they want them to be. Our ground is down here. Actually, is our player falling a tiny bit? Yeah. That's probably not good. Let's move. Our ground is here. I'm going to move the size of the box up a little bit. Whoa, no, that was... Let's just zoom out here a bit. That's not good. Hold on, let's just edit the collider. That'll be a bit easier. Boom, there, around about the player, so he won't be falling down as soon as the fight starts. Okay. It's kind of annoying me a bit too much about how the walking... the character doesn't have any walking animation, so I'm just going to make a quick and simple walk animation. So let's just do that quickly. Because, again, although this is only a prototype, it's too annoying that he doesn't walk a little bit. Oh, had caps lock on. Whatever. So, nice and simple. Walking routine. So if he starts in this position, like this, let's say we'll go to about half a second, because he's not going to move super fast. But what we'll do is move, basically all we do is like switch the position of his two legs and let Unity work out the bits in between, or switch the position of all the bits of his body essentially. So for example, his right leg here. Actually, to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the player, so we just have an extra one in the background that we can essentially just trace over it. Learn pixel art. I suck at drawing in general. Yeah, learning pixel art is a good way to do this stuff. Pixel art, it's a much simpler way of drawing. You know what I mean? So let's move these bits and pieces along. So we've got our player here. So we'll start with his right leg. I'm going to move this part of his right leg to here. His lower body, I'm actually going to do what we did last week and switch it around on the x-axis. Nope, that was scale. That's the wrong one. No, it is the right one. What am I doing? Yeah. So that should be -1. The player, I just realized I'm going to move him. I just realized that this is not going to work very well because all the different layer parts are set up in different ways. So, I wish there was an easy way to select all children objects rather than having to go and expand every single thing. But that's Unity. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to make this all of the traceable one basically will be a little bit see-through just so I can work a little bit better. Okay, so back to our animation here. On the player, player walk cycle. Oh, I just realized, look what's happened there. I did this on the player idle for some reason, which was a bit silly. So player walk, let's go back to this. Okay, so 30 seconds in, we will start by flipping around the lower body. Like so. We want to do the thing where we replace the body sprite. So there we go. Project files, body, and we'll make that. And go back to our animation here. Alex Halley, did you read the email I sent you, Jim? Sorry, no, Alex, I didn't see that yet. Are you going to add some controller support for this? This does already have controller support because we're using Unity's. If I go to the script, we're using Unity's built-in input that get button down, fire 1, fire 2, fire 3, and jump. So that's all the, say on a PlayStation controller, that's X, circle, square, and triangle. So by using that built-in stuff in Unity, we have that working by default. I have my controller plugged in, so I'll actually just test it out here. Here we go. I can punch, I can knee, I can kick, I can do my other punch. So it works. I can jump as well. So perfecto. But let's go back to doing this animation. Okay, so we've got what have we done? We've done the body and the lower body. So let's move the legs then. So right leg, we're going to move that forward to about here ish. That should be okay. And then we need to bend it around into the positions we want. So that leg goes to there. The lower leg goes to here. It doesn't need to be exactly right, but it needs to be approximately. So I'm just going to roughly line these things up. Okay, so that's fine. So let's do the same for the left leg then. I'm going to take it from where it is, pull it back, then rotate it around to roughly there. Lower leg goes to there. Lower foot goes forward. As you can see, it doesn't really line up too well, so I'm going to pull it down a bit like that. There, that should be okay. Next thing is the arms. So we'll take our left arm first. I'm going to pull that back. Actually, we'll do our right arm first because it's in front. So we'll pull our right arm forward to here, rotate it around. Booyah! Like that. Could actually do it being moved down a little bit to here, say. Yeah, that'll do. And then we take our left arm, pull that back to around about here, rotate it as well. Look at the position of it, it's not quite lined up again, so we move it a little bit. Like so. That should do. That'll do us. It's not too complicated, but it should hopefully work. Oh. None of that animation was recording. Perfect. Just what I wanted. Okay, I need to move it all back. Oh, Unity, why do you do these things to me? Boom. Okay, there we go. Now let's actually start recording the changes we're making. Everything takes practice. You don't need talent. You need patience and endurance. Indeed, that's what everything is about. The more you keep doing stuff over and over again, the better you get at everything. Lower body could do it moving forward. Okay, let's do this again. Right leg, go into the correct position. Rotate around. Lower leg, and kaboom. Left leg, go into the right position, roughly. Rotate it around. Down a bit, then we'll rotate the lower leg and kaboom, there you go. Then arms, right arm, let's pull you over to here, pull you forward like this, pull you down a little bit, then a left arm, go back to here and rotate it around like so. Doesn't need to match up perfectly or anything, but it'll do like that. So just as an example, let's see how that looks. There you go. He's walking a little bit. So to duplicate that then, we've got all the positions right here. So we need him to go back to the first position at the end of the walk, which will be here. Simple, easy, quick walking animation. It's much easier to do when you're just doing this kind of skeletal based animation. I can delete that other fella now. Okay, so let's go ahead and make it so that our script can actually do something with that. So down at the end here, we'll just add another value to our animator. We'll just say anim.setFloat, and the float we're going to use, we'll just call it speed, and we'll just set that to be whatever the rigid body's current velocity is on the x-axis. So the rigid body.velocity.x, like so. Player walk. Yeah, I forgot I had the caps lock on. Okay, let that compile. Then we need to set all that up in our animator. So basically all we'll do in our animator here is we've got our player walk here, so we'll make a transition to and from the idle state. Pull that forward a little bit as well, because we might be able to jump out of this. So if we need to add that value, so we need to add a float to the animation called speed. Did I have a capital letter on that? No, I did not. So just take that off. Basically all we say is if our speed is greater than 0, so if speed is greater than, well, not 0 but 0.1 say, then we'll transition to doing the player walk animation, and it shouldn't have any exit time and no duration and no transition duration or anything like that. We don't want to mess around with that stuff. And then coming back, we want to do the exact same, turn all that stuff off, make sure it happens immediately, and we want to say speed is less than 0.1, like so. Perfect. Okay, so now we're able to transition to the walking and standing still animation. So let's just boop boop boo, look at me go. I'm a robot. Actually, I just realized we want to be able to walk backwards too, so let's say that instead of just sending out the velocity, we'll send out matf dot. There we go, matf dot absolute. So we're saying whether the velocity is minus or positive, we always want it to be a positive value when we're sending it to the animator. That's what we were saying when we add the absolute. YouTube is a better place to learn game dev and other things from home rather than going to a school first, in my opinion. I would probably agree with that. I went to college for computer science and I've learned a lot more online myself. But, I mean, you do learn lots of other things as well. But let's see if this goes. So we can walk forwards and we can walk backwards. We're doing a cool moonwalk backwards, but that's okay. But look at that, if we walk and then do that. Also, if we are walking and try to punch or anything like that, it basically stores the last trigger that you did. So this is how we could load up a combo, for example. If I'm walking, press all the attack buttons, and then he magically do it by himself at the end. That works as well, but not really something you want to have in your game. It doesn't look too good. So in our animator now, basically what we need to do is say there's two things we could do. We could go ahead and hook up all of these to our player walk, which is probably the most sensible way to do it, but let's see if we can find another way to do it. So we obviously need to be able to jump as well. So basically we'll say if the player is no longer grounded, then go to the jump animation. So we want to make sure that doesn't have any exit times or anything like that. You always use 0.01 instead of 0.1. Yeah, that's all down to personal preference. You find it smoother as well? Yeah, sure. It depends what you're doing. I'm happy with it at the moment. Again, it's just a prototype, so messing around with those values is an important part of making a full game. Not so important when you're just prototyping. I want to clear up these little animation problems though. So there's two ways I could do this actually. Like I said, I can hook all those things up. We could also set it so that when our player's speed is greater than 0, then all our triggers are... Oh no, we can't deactivate a trigger, can we? Okay, so that wouldn't work. You wouldn't want to do that anyway. I was going to say you could set it so that the triggers aren't active when our player's walking, but all that would mean is if you're walking, you can't punch. That's no good to anybody. So what I'm going to do instead is just say... basically, whenever we press a button down, our movement stops. So we'll just say the rigid body dot velocity equals vector2 dot 0. Simple little line that should ideally solve that little problem for us. You might notice as well, something in general, when I'm teaching, we don't do a lot of adding comments into our code. But when you're working by yourself, it's something I feel I should cover more. Look at me go. So I can punch while I'm sliding around. That's pretty cool. But yeah. But yeah, so we don't do a lot of commenting in our code, but in general it's something that you should try and do whenever you add something into your game. It's kind of sensible to do. Like, for example, we just added this thing, stops player moving. Oop, I need to move that in. Stops player moving when attacking, right? So what I would do if I was home, I am at home, but if I was working on stuff myself, I just paste that into all these places, just so that when I return to look at this script in 6 months' time, because when you're working on a full game, it takes time. So when you return to looking at the script and you're like, oh, what did this little bit of code do? Why am I setting the rigid body to be 0? I don't understand. Because you won't remember why everything does something. So generally the idea is, okay, yeah, I have a little comment to tell you, but you don't need a comment on every single line. Like, for example, here we've got the movement and we've got jumping. So we could just say player movement and jumping, like that. So you're basically describing this chunk of code, and you're not having to go explain how it all works. Like, it's basically a reminder for yourself. And most of the time, when you see that little reminder, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I remember how that works now." Do you know what I mean? Although it's also especially important if you're working with other people and there's other people looking at your code. In that situation, comments are the most important, because if someone's looking at your code, they don't have time to sit there and work out, oh, what does this value do? Why is all this stuff here? You want to be able to give them as easy a time as possible. So if you're making a game, for example, that at some point in the future, maybe you're making your indie game to release on Steam, and suddenly it becomes a huge success, and then you need to transfer, or you get approached by, say, Sony or someone. They're like, we'd like to see your game on our platform, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to make a game on PlayStation. And then they go, oh, we have teams that do that, because that is a common thing. There's teams that work just on porting indie games from PC to PlayStation. Lots of teams that do that. If you want to make their job a lot easier, and which means reducing the cost of doing the whole project, which at the end of the day means you probably get more money out of it, you want to make your code as simple and easy to read as it possibly can be. Anyway, that's my little talk about coding or commenting, sorry. We've got our player now. He can do his animation, his punches and stuff while we're walking along. I'm not too worried at the moment about the fact that we can punch and move at the same time. That doesn't really matter too much. What is kind of weird is we can just like load up a bunch of attacks like that. I can just click all the buttons at once and it'll do all these attacks. That's a little bit confusing, but the thing is, the way that works is because we're using triggers to activate the other things. So really, I suppose technically we should set these to be bool values, but again, I'm not going to worry about that for now. What do we got going on over here? Portal Knots on PS4. Perhaps one day. One day we'll have more talk about Portal Knots in general. Okay, so we've got our dude. Let's actually start doing some damage to something. Okay, so I'm going to make just a simple little thing to be damaged. I'm not even going to use this whole enemy. I'm just going to use his little body like this. I'm just going to give it a box collider 2D like this, and I'm going to stretch it out a little bit so it's a nice big box like this. And then we're going to create a little system to handle damage. So create a script and call this. How are we going to do this? Basically, we're just going to have it so that each one of these has their own amount of health, and whenever it's touched by one of the different parts of the body, that health gets sort of taken away. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. So rather than player, let's say we'll just call this the health controller. Now we want to make sure that if you're if you're this guy, oh, I suppose, yeah. If you're this guy over here, we're going to set him up on his own layer. And if you're this guy over here, you're going to be on a different layer. And we'll set it so you can't interact with your own layer. So basically, this guy won't be able to get hurt by his own trigger boxes, which that'll be a handy thing. Is there any point in me sharing on Twitter when I have no followers? There sure is. That's you share away on Twitter and see who retweets you. That's what I always find. Okay, so we've got our health controller. Let's go ahead and open this up here. I don't think I fixed the line endings thing in the latest release of Unity. So that's another thing. We're using the latest version of Unity here. This is actually my first time using it. I downloaded it just the other day. So far I haven't noticed anything different. So we'll see as we go. But anyway, so we've got in our health controller, we need to know how much health do we have. So public int current health. We'll obviously need a function to take away that health. So public float take damage. And that'll just be, we'll pass in an int value to that, so that'll be int what will we have it be? Int damage to take. Yeah, there we go. Not exactly a very complicated one to do, but that's okay. So then all that'll be will just be whatever our current health is. If I could spell the word current, that would be lovely. Current health minus equals damage to take. So we're just taking our damage to take away from whatever our current health is. Twitter is Real Steel. Oh, Real Steel! I didn't know you're Mr. Whisper. I hadn't made that connection at all. How are you? Even though you've been talking away since the stream started. Why is this? Why is this? Public float? That doesn't make any sense. Why did I type public float there? Public void. There we go. Public void take damage. Damage to take. So it'll be current health minus equals damage. So that's fine for the moment. That's pretty much all we need out of that. So the next thing we need is in here. Yeah, the line endings are all wrong. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you, Unity. I wish you would just like use the line endings of the machine that you're being installed on. I don't really understand why it does not do that. So we need another script for hurting or for dealing damage. So we'll just call it the do damage script. And basically we just want this to have a value that we can yeah, look, we want to reload those. I knew that would pop up eventually. So on the do damage, we want to have the amount of damage you want to do. So public int damage to give, and we want to do void on trigger enter 2D collider 2D, please. Collider 2D other, as we've written this code a million times here on the channel. Nobody knows the public float now. So basically we'll say if the other dot we're going to need to give a tag, I'd say. So if other dot tag equals player, because they'll both be players really, both of these things that we're going to have in place here. So if other dot tag equals player, then we want to on that other object, so other dot get component, so we want to get the health controller component, which will be attached to each one of these. So we're going to go to the health controller and we want to use the take damage function and pass in whatever our current damage to give is. So that'll be damage to give like that, and then we'll save that. Okay, so we've got those two things in place. Let's go ahead and assign them to these things here. So on our enemy boss, we're going to give him the health controller. We'll start him out with 100 health. Do damage, we're going to need to attach this to the bits of our player that are actually going to do the damage. So that'll be, for example, on his arm, that'll be his left hand. On his other arm, that'll be his right hand there. So, and it'll also be his 2 feet. That's what we're going to go with for the moment. I know I added ones to the knees as well, but I'm just going to ignore them for now, basically. So on all of those, we're going to give them the do damage script, and we're going to say they'll do 5 damage. So let's just test this out and see how it goes. I'm going to move back to this guy so we can see what the current health is. Not working, of course. I think I know why, actually. I need to have a rigid body on the enemy bot, I think. Because triggers can't interact with each other without a rigid body going on. Gravity scale 0, that's what I was looking for. And we'll make sure we freeze the rotation as well. Boom, boom, boom. Nope, he's not taking damage. I always get this stuff the back way around. He's not a trigger. Are these things triggers? Yes. Maybe I should have this the other way around, really, shouldn't I? Now that I think about it. Void on trigger enter 2D collider to the other. If other.tag equals, oh wait, hold on, I just realized I never gave it the player tag. That's probably, yeah. Yes, Mr. Whisper, thank you. You exactly just pointed out about 2 seconds after I realized the same thing. So you can see now it's actually working. It's taking away our health just the way we wanted it to. Boom, boom, boom. But you can see also what's happening. So for example now, if I just walk into it, it does damage. Because our little fists have the triggers attached to them. So they're actually doing damage to it as we get closer. Which obviously we don't want that going on. So we're going to do something a little bit different with our triggers now. We're going to go, I'm going to delete that little bit of code that I was adding in. I was like, I could have sworn I got that right that time, because I often get those things wrong, the wrong way around. So does it work without the rigid body? I feel like it shouldn't. Let me just try it again. It does. Okay. Who knows? I always get that completely wrong. Oh, because there's a rigid body attached to this parent object. That's probably why. Okay. So all of these objects that have the little box colliders attached to them, what we need to do is select them all and disable the box colliders on them so they don't have the triggers attached to them anymore. So now if I press play, I obviously won't be able to do any damage to him. We walk into him, no damage happening. We can just stand here and hug against each other all we want until the end of time. But the next thing we want to do is go into our animations on our player and say on the left punch animation. Let's see how that looks. That's our player going out to there. So in that situation, hey, his left hand should be doing some damage. So we turn the box collider on like that. So it adds a little extra thing to the animation there. So let's now go to the right punch and we can see all this stuff here. We want to do the exact same thing basically. Now instead of the left hand we want to do the right hand, and here we want to go, okay, turn on the box collider for the length of this animation. So let's go ahead and just test the two of these out before we go any further. So What was punches? They're both these clicks. So if we walk over here, let's go to our enemy bot duder, and you can see we're walking into him. We're not doing any damage, but if we do a punch, our trigger being turned on, and it does damage to the object. Boom, 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 boom. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to do. So let's go ahead and do that with the feet now, so that we can do our little kicks and punches as well. So we'll do our right knee attack, which I just realized, yeah, we're doing it with our right knee, so we really should use these knees as damage givers as well. So let's give the do damage script to both of these knees, give them a value of 5, and make sure they don't have their box colliders turned on. And then in this animation specifically, we turn on the box collider for the knee. Then for the left kick, when the kick gets to here, as weird as it looks, we want to turn on the box collider for our kick there. I love how James handles his mistakes. Well, see, the thing is, when you make lots of mistakes, you get used to dealing with them. One step at a time and keep it simple. Exactly. I find it's the best way to deal with coding in general. Don't do a whole bunch of things at once. Do one little thing at a time and test it out and make sure it works. It's the most easy way to like make sure, okay, if I make a mistake, it doesn't ruin the whole project. I don't spend half an hour working on something only to get to the end and go, oh no, the very first thing I did didn't work, so all of this other work that I did means nothing now because I have to go and rewrite everything. That doesn't make any sense to do. Okay, so we've got that in place. Let's just verify that they all work now. So we walk over to our enemy. We can punch and kick. Need to get closer to do that little knee. So we need to remember we need to be nice and close to do that. So that's kind of makes it a bit more interesting too. And we can do a little kick, and it gets destroyed. Okay, so let's just add a little bit more to our health controller here. So in our update loop, if current health is less than or equal to 0, then game object dot set active is false, like so. We need to add this health system to our player. So if we go to player here, we're going to add health controller to him and press 100 there. So now let's just test one thing out. So if I have my current health on 100, I want to make sure. Okay, so at the moment, none of our kicks or anything like that are actually crossing over with our player and doing damage to himself. But there is the potential that that could happen depending on what animations we do and stuff like that. So we want to remove that danger from the equation. And the way we can do that is by, on the player here, none of the other objects have a different layer, do they? No, they don't. So on the player, we're going to give him a new layer. So we're going to create a layer for player 1 and player 2. I'm creating a player 2 layer, but we're not making this as a 2-player thing at the moment. We're just making a simple one-on-one kind of battle. Okay, so we've got player 1, player 2. So then what I'm going to do is on player 1 here, I'm going to give him the player 1 layer. I'm going to change all the children. What I'll actually do just to demonstrate this actually being a problem is I'm going to which one, the right foot never gets used as a trigger, so it doesn't get deactivated in an animation, and I'm going to turn that back to being on the whole time. And we should see then, if we go to the player and we look at our current health, if I Oh, that actually should be doing damage to the player. What's going on here? Why isn't that giving us damage? This video reminds me of Mortal Kombat, yeah. Is it because I didn't give him the player tag? Yes, it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. Now, why isn't it working this time? Because now we should be actually... The thing is, our right foot is now crossing over our body. So it should be giving us... it should be damaging ourselves. Let's just try this again. What is going on here? Any thoughts, anybody? Any suggestions? So, take damage. Damage to take, that's fine. Do damage. If the tank is player, then get the health controller and do damage to it. So we have a box glider. We have all of this stuff. Maybe just because it's two colliders attached to the same object. Or the same parented object. No, that doesn't make sense because they can still interact and stuff. Okay, when I removed it from him, that actually does damage. So maybe it's because they're already attached that it doesn't do the damage. I'm not actually sure. I'm going to have to investigate that myself off the stream afterwards. But for now, we'll just be happy it works. But what I was actually wanting to do in this whole situation was... I'll demonstrate the fix I was going to do. Okay, so let's just play this again. Okay, I'm going to remove the right foot. And now we can see... If I highlight the player and the health, we got 100 health. If we walk back across, it takes away our health, so it's interacting with itself. And the way we can stop that, which is what I wanted to actually show, would be to go into our project settings, go into physics 2D, and basically say where player 1 here interacts with player 1 here, you want to deactivate that checkpoint so that player 1, anything that's on the player 1 layer can't interact with itself. So we'll do the same for when player 2 is touching player 2. That's fine. So let's play this again. I'm going to detach the foot, go back to our player, go look at our current health, and now when we move, and I move back across, now it no longer takes damage because the foot is no longer able to interact with the rest of the body. Okay, so perfect. That's all we wanted that to do. I just wanted to test it out and make sure that would work. So now that that's done, I don't have to worry about those two things ever interacting with themselves. So whether that was just a weird thing going on or what, I don't know. But for now, I don't have to care about it anymore. So we've dealt with that. Now, now we can actually do some damage to the enemy. One other thing. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. Yeah. So what we can do now that we have our player able to deal damage, what we could do is using our animation system make it so that an animation will actually a different animation would do a different amount of damage. So by default, say our left punch here is set to be, it does 5 damage when we do our punches. So let's go into our animations for our player. So left punch like this, and when we're left punching, now instead of just being like it is, let's go to our left hand. We're going to change our damage to give to be 15. I think that should work. No, doesn't want to work for me. I thought that would be able to work. Maybe not. Maybe we'd have to do it manually. That would be okay too. We'll leave it at 5 for now then. That's a pity. I was really hoping that would work. It wasn't something I had tried, but I was hoping it actually would make a difference. Actually, we should test out. I set it so that when you destroy the enemy, yep, when he runs out of health, he dies or disappears from the level at least. So what we could, the alternate way to do it, rather than changing the code when we do the punch. So left hand, we're doing the left punch. So let's create some references to those individual body parts that do the damage. So public do damage, which is the name of the script attached to those. So that's the only thing we want to care about. So public do damage for the right hand. Let's call this yeah, we'll call it right hand damage. I think is the best way to go with naming these things. So again, a public do damage, left hand damage, public do damage, right knee damage, public do damage, left knee damage. This is just allowing for doing different moves that you may want to do or whatever. So public do damage, right foot damage, and finally public do damage left foot damage. So we're going to say that out of all of these, we're going to say the default amount of damage that we want any thing to do will just be 5. So I'm going to have that stored as a separate value. So we'll say public int default damage, and we're going to set that in Unity back here. And then what we'll do is whenever we do a punch of any kind, so here for example we're doing our left punch, so when we do our left punch, let's change the value that is actually being assigned to the left punch. So we'll say left hand damage dot what did we call it? It was damage to give. So left hand damage dot damage to give will be equal to, let's say we'll set it to 15 when we do a punch. Let's say when we do a right punch, we're going to set it to be right hand damage dot damage to give equals 10. Actually, we'll make it more because our right hand is traveling further across the body, so it's a bigger punch, so it does a little bit more damage. We'll go with that. Pop back into Unity. Let's just test these out and see how they go. So we need to hook up all those different things. So right hand damage, let's grab our right hand, pop it there, left hand, pop it in there, right knee, pop it there, right foot, I'll pop it in there, then left knee and left foot. Okay, so default damage will put us 5 for now. It doesn't matter because we haven't actually done anything with it. But we should see if I go to left hand here. So at the moment its damage is 5. If I do a punch, now it's 15. Perfect. So we can do more damage to our objects like that. And then our right hand, it's 5 at the moment. We do a punch, now it's 25. So that's perfect. That's fine and dandy. That's kind of what we want to have going on there. But the thing is, say we have a combo system where we got lots of different punches going on, and we don't want to have to set a value for every punch every single time we do it. And say you had a combo where you had like a big punch at the end and it does 50 damage. You don't want that to be stored in your right hand the whole time. so that then the next time you go and do a right hand punch, suddenly your just normal punch does a load of damage. So before we even get into doing combo systems and all that kind of stuff, which I don't know if we will tonight or anything like that, and we're certainly not going to jump into a big, huge, complicated combat system. It's not really what we want to do at all. What we're going to do is take all of these values, so right hand damage, left hand damage, all these. And basically what we're going to do is, in the left hand one here, we're going to put right hand damage dot damage to give, and we're going to set it to be the default value. So we're going to always set it back to be default damage. So that's fine. So we have our right hand damage. We don't want to do left hand damage because we're in the left hand function. So we'll paste that in here. So now we'll say, okay, well then we'll go for right knee damage, and we'll go for right foot damage. Then we'll go for left knee damage, and finally left foot damage. Okay, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add in the right hand or left hand for the moment, so that I can copy and just delete the line that we don't want to use. So left hand damage damage to give. Now this isn't really the most optimal coding way to do this, but again, this is just a prototype, so we can kind of go with just rough code. Probably a better way to do this would be to create an array of these objects and then loop through the array, setting each one to be the default damage, but make it ignore whatever the current position is in the array. So say in the left hand, if this was our 6 objects in the array, we would go, okay, left hand is the 4th one in the array, so ignore the one at position 3, and then we'll say the other ones, set them to be 5. But I don't want to mess around with doing that. We're just going to keep it nice and simple because this is just a prototype. So we can just go, okay, all this stuff, we'll just copy this. I'm just going to go into right hand here, paste that in. So all we do is say this first one, we're making changes to left hand damage, so we don't want to reset it. On our right hand, we're making changes to the right hand, so we don't want to reset that. On our left foot here, our left kick is what is the animation that we're using, so we're going to make a change to that, although I'm not going to bother for now. So what I'll do is delete the left foot line, and then when we're using our right knee attack, well, we want to remove the right knee line. How long are you going to stream for, James? Probably another half an hour or so, I would say. And then, as with last week, the stream will be going up on YouTube later on. Once it processed and all that. It took a while to process last time. I think it took like an hour or something. But that's okay. Okay, so we've got all that stuff done. Let's go back in here and test it out now. So what we should see is when we play, so if we keep looking at our right hand, we've got our damage to give. If I do a punch, now it's 25. If I do a different attack, now it's gone back down to 5. If I do any of the other different attacks, we can bring it up to 25 by doing our punch, and then it'll go back by doing any of the other one, which is good. Okay, so now we've got a very simple little system going on. So let's hook it up so that we can actually show some of this stuff to the player. So I'm going to create just 2 little sliders that we can see on the screen. So go to a UI slider. UI stuff in Unity is still very weird and still very strange. There's parts of it that I like and that it works very well, but there's parts of it that are just kind of awkward, like trying to set up UI objects to work for multiple different screen sizes. It doesn't work very well. It really doesn't. It's kind of annoying. But there you go. it's one of those things that you just have to deal with. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on this slider, I'm going to make it super duper simple. I do not want to have a handle on it. Slider, let's give it a max value of 100, and I can only use whole numbers because that's what our health system is based around. We're going to center it based on the center of the screen like that. I'm going to move it over here. Layers, UI, so yeah, I can't click on UI unless I'm already on it. Could you continue to the RPG series everyone loves? I will ideally get back to it, but for the moment, not now, basically. So our slider, I'm actually going to flip this around on the x-axis. So we're going to set it to be -1, so that the health will go in towards the middle, like it does in most fighting games in general. So let's fiddle around with some of these other things that we've got going on. Let's put the value up to full for the moment. You can see it doesn't quite go all the way, so we need to make some changes to that. So the fill area, we want to pull... Wait, is it the fill area we want to do, or the fill? It may actually be the fill that we want to do. Yeah. Oh, what I want to do actually is remove the sprite, don't I? Because we want to use just a flat color like that. We'll use say a kind of yellow color to represent health, like so. Do you have the explosion script for the character yet? I'm not sure what you mean by the explosion scripts. I'm following. I don't know why I can't continue with them. Well, there's a lot of things going on, so unfortunately I can't do everything at once. Change the color of the background here to red, maybe a little bit more orangey, a little bit darker, like so. Okay, so fill area, I think that's what I want to pull up. See, it's not locking into position, which is the kind of would be the helpful thing, but that's okay. And then fill up to full like that. So if we just adjust the slider value all the way to the bottom, okay. Pull that to there, and then line all this stuff up is the most annoying. it's just tedious work that needs to be done. I kind of just want to see how this will actually work in the game itself. That's why we do these things. You build them to test them out to see how they will work. Okay, that's fine. So we have one there. I'm just going to duplicate it and make another one on the other side. So let's set the scale of this to be 1. Just going to pull it over to there. That's fine. That's all we need to worry about. So then we need to actually interact with these sliders and do things with what they're doing. So let's go to our enemy body as the health controller. So we're going to need to make some changes to our health controller script. We want to be able to access the UI stuff. So using Unity engine.ui. Then we want to be able to access the slider. So public slider, that we call health bar. And basically all we do is in the update loop, no, we won't even do it in the update loop. We'll do it whenever we take damage. So in the start function, what we'll do is go to our health bar dot value equals current health, like that. And then when we take damage, we'll reset the value of the health bar. So we can just take the same line of code. On one of your videos you showed creating a character with rigid bodies and never showed the explosion script. Oh yes, that was creating the kind of skeletal based animation. Yes, there should be a link in the description of the video with the explosion script included. Sorry if I wasn't clear in that video, but that's what I meant. The explosion script should be there to take a look at yourself, basically, was the idea. It'll continue our 2D RPG. Inventory will be next. Yes, that's the plan. Just at the moment, finding time to do it is a thing, and it will be a large undertaking to actually do it. But one thing at a time. So on our enemy now, what I'm going to do is we have a space for our health bar, so I'm going to grab that second slider, which is this one that we created, pop that in there. Now if we hit play, if I walk over, start doing some damage. Perfect. Health gone, and he's gone. Perfect. So we can see that that will actually work for us. So that's what we that's what we're jumping around like a maniac there, and we're happy about. Next thing is, okay, so the health system is working. We've refined how the animations and how the interactions and stuff work, so that's good. Let's look at creating a super simple combo. So how are we going to do this? Excuse me. Let's say we'll use a string. So public string last action. So I'm just going to create, for now, a combo of two things. So say, let's do a combo where if you do a left punch and a right punch, instead of it going like this, left punch, right punch, it'll go left punch, and let's create a new special animation for this. Okay, so we'll go into our animation folder. We're going to create a new animation that this time won't be caps locked. Player right upper cut. So for the right uppercut, we'll actually just copy some of the graphics we've already used for right punch, because it's pretty handy that we have this kind of layout already done. So I'm just going to copy this and then go to our uppercut. Hopefully this should work. I believe it worked last time. Yeah. So there we go. We've got our body into position. So now instead of going to there like that, what we'll do is take the right arm and pull it up like this, and right arm like that, and we'll actually throw the right leg into doing something too. So he kind of, not knee, I didn't mean to move the knee. What the, where did his lower body go? Somehow scale, what? Okay, I'm going to ignore that for the moment. Let's just stick with doing things to our right knee here. I just wanted to pull this up like this and pull that like that, just to make it look a little bit different. What am I doing here? Sorry, my mind went blank for a second. I was just thinking about something. The lower body, yes, that's what was going on. I knew there was something being weird. So scale, for some reason that got set to be that. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why the body just did that. I don't know. I don't know why. Where is the... I'm going to delete both of these values for the lower body, because that's not helping anybody. and now we'll reset them again, because this is what should be happening. It should be going to -1, and then we move it forward a little bit. That's all I wanted to do with the body, not have it be all weird. Okay, so we've got our right uppercut animation. Master Marauder, got to go. Thanks for stopping by. You will indeed see me next time, like I said. In a week's time, I'll be doing this, and we're going to be doing this every Tuesday for the foreseeable future, working on game development stuff of different kind. We won't be working on this fighting game prototype forever, but we will be doing more other stuff. Okay. Yes, we've got that animation in place, so let's do this simple little combo thing. So, what we're going to do is say, okay, if we want to do a cool punch, we want to do that cool uppercut. So we're saying it's left punch, then right punch. So what we'll do is say, when we do an action with our left hand, we'll say, at the end of it, we'll say, last action equals left P. Just keep it a little bit shorter and simple. Left P. And then in our right hand, what we're going to do is add a new if statement and say, if last action equals left P, there's an issue that this will bring about, but for the moment, we're gonna go with this for the moment. So last action equals left P. If that's the case, well, then we should send a new thing to the animator. So anim.set trigger, not set target, set trigger. We'll call it right uppercut, like that. So we'll save this. Oh, that should be equals, sorry, not just equals. So basically, if our last action was left punch, then we'll set the right uppercut. Then we want to say, otherwise, do this whole shenanigans here. So else, do the animating set trigger for right punch. Actually, we'll put this close bracket after the damage gives there set to be 25, but here we're going to set it to be a little bit higher because we're doing like a little combo punch. So we'll set this to be equal to 35, just to do a little tiny bit more damage. Save this. And okay, so if we're setting those things to be just the way we want it to be, okay. Yes, this should work. I was just, yeah. Punch. Oh, okay. We haven't set up the animator. I knew there was something in my head. I was like, there's something I'm missing here. I know what it was, of course, that we didn't actually set the values. So we need to put a right uppercut trigger in like this. And then... oh no. What transition durations are we using? I need to remember all this stuff now. So 0.5 exit time, 0.05. So we'll do the same stuff here. Actually, we'll do the same as what we did for the right punch. So it's coming in. It has a transition of 0.05. Let's set it at 0.01 as a couple of people suggested. Then exit time 0.1 and 0.05. Okay, perfect. So let's actually give these transitions something to just do. So trigger right uppercut, And I think coming back, there shouldn't be anything for it to do. No. Okay, perfect. Let's try this out then. It should actually work. Mario likes mushrooms, therefore he's a fun guy. He sure is. Why isn't this... Hey. Okay, it's not working. Perfect. Did I did call it, didn't I? Yes, the right uppercut. Perfect. Oh, it should be capital R. There we go. Yeah. Let's go again. Whoa, it's a little bit quick. Let's change that. Right punch. Fixed duration. Oh, we never said. Oh, yes, I know why that's too fast. In our animation, we should have added a little bit further down the timeline here as well. So right punch, it's at 8 frames. Okay. So right uppercut, we'll do the same thing. Copy all of this and place it at 8 frames here. Goombas and toads are mushrooms, therefore they are fungi too. Indeed. Rickard Goivarts doesn't have to come from left punch. I mean, that would have been another way to do it, but I mean, you know what? That probably would have been a much more better way to do it. Now that you mentioned that, probably would have been a little bit more straightforward. Okay, let's stick with this for the moment and see how we get on. So boom, boom. We've got our cool uppercut action. But of course, the thing is now... Well, now he's just repeatedly doing the right uppercut. That's not right. He shouldn't be doing that. Hold on, let me just pull this down here for a second. So if I do that... Why is he right punching? Hold on. Why is that happening? Let me look in here. Oh, because there's nothing else overwriting this. Of course, we need to say at the end of all these, so last action equals... Rather than being right punch, we should set this to be right hand. So this is the right hand doing an action. So this should have been left H, and this one should be left H. And basically at the end of each one, we would reset it back to be last action equals left F. Oh, no, left F. Like that. Last action equals right F, like so. Yeah, so there we go. That works properly now. So what happens is we left punch, and then we can do our right uppercut, but then next time we do a right punch like that. That's what we actually wanted to do, because that makes a little bit more sense. So we can just do our little combos. But the thing is, at the moment, if we do a left punch and we just kind of stand here and go doodly doodly doo, then walk over and now do a right punch. Oh, we still had that right uppercut stored because we had it telling it what the last punch was. So we're just going to add a way to count down the combo-ness of it all. So what we'll do is just create a new public float combo length, and then a private float combo count. Apparently I don't know how to spell the word float. And well, we make that count down over time, basically. So in our update loop here, we'll say combo count minus equals time dot delta time up here, and then when we do a little punch or whatever at the end of it, we say combo count equals combo length like so. We'll just copy this and paste it in at the end of all of these guys here. Like that. Save it. And then what we'll do is when we go to do our actual uppercut and to do the check and see if we are doing an uppercut, what we do is say, okay, if the last action was left hand and our combo counter is greater than or equal to 0. Turn-based RPG would be awesome. It would be interesting. You think sooner or later you could do oh sorry, there we go. Sooner or later you could do a Paper Mario turn-based battle prototype. I certainly could. I have a few. I want to do a few nice and simple prototypes in these live streams. So we're never going to take any of them to completion or anything like that. We just want to cover the basics and kind of get the basic understanding of how these things should work. So let's actually test this out and see if it'll work now. So if I punch, I wait, and I do my right punch. Well, hey. Now we can't do anything. Although I just realized, hey, we didn't actually give a value for our combo length. So 0.1. Why is this saying object reference not set to an instance of an object? Oh, that's the player. Yeah, we should set up the slider for this one to be that checker right there. Okay. Combo length. I just set it to 0.12. I'm not really sure why. That's probably too short, to be honest. So 0.5. So if I take too long, let's actually look into debug here. So down here you can see our combo counter is counting away. So I punch, you can see it counting down after I punch. So if I do it quickly, I can get my uppercut punch in. So we can go boom boom. But if I do boom and then boom, we don't quite do the same super amount of power. So that's how we would handle the kind of the basics of the combo system. And I suppose essentially then it's just creating different combos. But of course, as Rickard said, we can also do animations. So let's take a look at how to do that. Again, I haven't done it yet, so we don't know how it'll work. But say we do right knee and then we come out of that doing a punch. Let's just, for example, we'll do, okay, if we do right knee and right punch, that'll also be our right uppercut. So what we can do then is say, okay, let's create a transition between those two. So let's go ahead and make a transition over to here. Turn out the debug, back to normal. So if our right uppercut trigger is hit, well, hey, well, then we can go over to right uppercut over here. And settings, we'll use the same settings again. The only problem is, of course, it depends on how long the right knee animation lasts. So if we go, just have a look at our animations here. On our right knee, it basically lasts a 1/6 of a second. Yeah, if we're going to 60 frames a second and it's 10 frames long, this animation, you have those 10 frames to get in there and do your uppercut. So let's try it out. Let's see how it'll work. Right knee is that one. So okay, that's not working. Why isn't that working for me? I think it's because there's no value coming out of this, basically. And I can't set this to be like, if right uppercut is not true, then you go to that. If I leave it on is grounded, I don't think that'll make a difference either. I am doing the right one there, aren't I? Like that's, yeah. No, it is because it's highlighting here, you can see. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Let's just undo this. Remove this. Because, of course, this isn't when the right uppercut is being called. This is just when right punch is being called. Because we're not actually calling right... We're only calling right uppercut after we do a left punch. So we're trying something completely different, unrelated to that. So we do... That's right punch. There we go. Yeah, so it does work. But I have to be quick with it. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? If I do and take my time, it doesn't quite work. Spitballing here, but would you think it would be cool to add a particle burst to the punches? Of course, yes, that is 100% something I would do when bringing this to a full game. Like, I always like that in Tekken. You'd always, whenever you punched anybody or did anything, you'd always get a little impact burst of stuff. I 100% would do that. In fact, let's just do it really quickly. Just to demonstrate how it would work. Let's just create a new particle system. I know there's a whole new bunch of particle stuff in the newest version of Unity, but I haven't actually messed around with any of it yet. I actually don't even know. I don't know where you even go to do that. Could be particle system here. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to mess around with that for now. What I am going to do is set that to be that. We will change the renderer. Nope, that's not right. Sprites default. There we go. I knew I could find the right one there somewhere. We'll just make this a nice little kind of yellowy, somewhere between yellow and white. So we'll random between two colors. So it'll be like that. Obviously they're way too big, so start size 0.1. Yeah, that'll do. Instead of being a rate over time, we want it to be a burst. So it'll be a burst of like 30. That should be fine. They won't survive for that long. It'll be like 1 second. Speed to shape, we want to change to be a circle of a much smaller radius. Duration, tie this down to 1. Okay, so size over lifetime then I will change to, I always like to make it so that these things shrink down as they spread out. A lot of fighting has some kind of hit stun that allows you to combo. We'll be implementing that. That's a good point, Kendra. I would imagine that'd probably be a good idea. What is the thing he's attacking a black rock with a lemon painted on? It does look like that, doesn't it? As Miss Brewster said, it's just the chest of another thing. Just kind of set there. Okay, so we've got this little burst out there like that. Speeds, that's still actually too much. And their lifetime is too long, I'd say. There we go, that'll do. I want to set it so that can I not change the... Oh, this is how we add strange new things. This is part of the new system, now that I look at it. Look, you can have... Each one has their own little trail. Let's go with that. I don't know why they're purple. Lifetime texture mode. Dye with particles. Inherit the color. They should inherit the color. I don't know why it's purple. Oh well, whatever. I'll just go with that. That's kind of an interesting looking particle effect. color over lifetime. How do we... No, I want to make it alpha value. I don't know. That'll do. It's a simple enough little particle effect. We don't want it looping though. We want it to be one single thing. That's fine. Particle system. So we'll just call it impact. I'm going to make it prefab in a new prefabs folder. Boomio. Impact. Put you in there. Then we need to add that to our code. Public game object impact effect, and all we do is whenever we do a punch or anything like that, we'll just do it at the end. We'll just say instantiate the impact effect, and where we want it to instantiate is, because this is left hand, we want it to be wherever the left hand is, and we know that we have the left hand damage object, so we can just say the left hand damage object. We can get the transform of that dot position. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward. Actually, we need the rotation as well, so left hand damage. Actually, we don't need to worry about rotation. We'll just set that to be vector 3.0. Nope, it needs to be a quaternion. Sorry, quaternion dot. I don't think dot 0 works, does it? Quaternions are too annoying. Let's just go with the left hand damage. Left hand damage dot transform dot rotation. It's too annoying having to work out quaternions. They're the most annoying thing in the world. Boom. Boom. And boom. So we have it for all the different parts, but of course we don't want it on all of them. We want it at so on right hand we want it to be at right hand damage. On left foot we want it to be well, it'll depend on what the actual one is, won't it? Because it could be left kick or left knee. So actually we don't want it to be at this position here. So I'm going to delete that line, and we're going to make it happen after we do our left kick. So we'll say impact effect. This time will be at the left foot damage. I feel like maybe we're going about this the wrong way, and we should actually do it at based off where the impact takes place. But you know what, now that I think about it more, it really should be where the impact takes place. Okay, I'm going to undo what we just did here. Rather than having to write this lines of code a bunch of times, it probably makes more sense instead. 1, 2, 3, here we go. How do you fix the colors on pixel art? Because mine are shifted if I import them from Photoshop. I use Photoshop the whole time. If you're getting before I go and fix up this instantiating the impact effect, if you go, let me just go to my art files. If you drag an image in, so say this guy looks all lovely and perfectly red here, when you drag it into to Unity, by default compression will be set to normal quality. So if I apply that, look, you'll see you get all these kind of weird artifacts, and that's because it's being compressed using like JPEG compression or something like that. So it's to make the files easier to work with when you're working with like a big massive image, but you're making pixel art, so it kind of creates these little outlines around things. If I turn the compression up to high, oh no, not high quality, low quality, Okay, I thought it would get worse, but it didn't. But that's what's causing it to look all weird, probably. So what you do is just set compression to be none, because you don't want to have to worry about that at all, and it should make your pixel art look actually proper. Okay, so back to making this impact effect. What we'll do is add it to our do damage script. So public game object impact effect. In this situation, we know that, okay, whatever's actually doing this damage, when we enter the tag and we're getting the health controller, well, hey, we know at this point whatever's doing the damage is at the exact position where we want it to be. So we can say instantiate the impact effect at transform.position and transform.rotation, like so. Save this, go back in here, and then what we need to do is just have our prefabs folder open. We'll go to our left hand, right foot, left and right knees, and we have a slot here for our impact effect now, so we can pop that in there, and we can hit play. The original one was still there, but that's okay. And we go, whoa, look at all these crazy things happening. Boom. Oh no, we killed them. Of course, we're being left with all these clones and stuff, and that's not really very helpful. So let's just quickly create destroy object script, because we want to attach that to our impact effect. And basically what we'll do is say public float lifetime, and then in our update loop say destroy game object over lifetime. So what that'll do is basically count down however much lifetime this thing should have, and it'll destroy it when it runs out of time. So in our prefabs, let's go to our impact. I'm going to add that script, destroy object. We'll give it 1.5 seconds to live. Just so we can make testing a little bit easier, I'm going to go to our enemy bot and give him 10,000 health. And now we can punch away to our Heart's Delight. Kick, kick, kick. And all those impact effects eventually fade away and disappear. So obviously we don't get it unless we're close enough to actually do our little bit of damage. You can see our little health bar isn't really going down very much here. Let's just set that slider max value to also be 10,000, or else it'll never show any change. So if we start doing damage, oh, we're very slowly doing damage to him. We've done loads of damage. Obviously, you wouldn't in the full game. You wouldn't want your slider to be interactable like that, but that's okay. So there you go. So that's a very simple little way of putting particle effects in. I'm going to wrap up this stream here now. We've got the basics of having. We've got two different ways of doing a combo system there. We can either do it through code, with our fire controller. We're using this kind of like left-handed stuff and all this to store what was the last input we pressed. Or we can do it through our animator just by calling the different animations in a different sequence and a different order of doing things. So both ways equally work. So I'm not going to go through and create a whole bunch of different combos. That's not the purpose of creating this prototype. What we wanted to do was test out how we would actually do that and how it would actually work. So now that we have those working, we've got our combo system built, we've got our health system built, and we've got some nice snazzy effects when we do some damage. So the next kind of main thing to do really is create an enemy that we can fight back and forward with. And we get the basics of a battle going. And that's, for this prototype, I would say that's probably pretty much as far as we want to take it. If we go too much further, we're actually looking at how to actually go ahead and make this a more fully featured thing, which is beyond the scope of a prototype. So basically I'd say we'll do one more live stream dealing with this game. I'll do that in a week's time. So next Tuesday, probably around the same time, around 8 o'clock here in Irish time, which is GMT. So what's that? That's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. I don't know all the time zones. I forget them all. You can work them out for yourself, obviously. But yeah, make sure you come by and stop in on the stream. And if you're here on the stream, the important thing then is you can, if you have problems of your own, I'm always happy to answer any questions that people have. I like interacting with you all on the streams here. It's a fun way to do these development stuff. But yeah, as I say, we'll probably do one more stream where we'll deal with creating our enemy and maybe making him do a little bit of damage to us, and seeing if we can create a way to automate his fighting system in general. Probably won't be anything too complicated. We want to keep the kind of basic AI nice and simple. We don't want it to be an unstoppable beast or anything like that. But for now, we're going to wrap up the stream here. Thanks again for everyone stopping by, and see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.